actually debate. But let's get on with our panel. We have a great panel to help us unpack this topic. Representative Diego Bernal is a social worker, attorney, musician, former District 1 councilman for San Antonio. He was elected to the Texas House of Representatives in 2015, where he continues to represent District 123, and we are sitting in that district right now. Chief William McManus of the San Antonio Police Department has over 30 years of law enforcement experience. He served as the assistant chief in Washington, D.C., and the chief in Minneapolis, as well as Dayton, Ohio. He was appointed our San Antonio police chief in 2006. Jeff Judson is a senior fellow with the Heartland Institute. He has worked in Washington, D.C. for several elected officials, including President George H.W. Bush, former president of the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and a recent candidate for the Texas legislature. And Robert Stovall has served as chairman of the Republican Party of Texas since 2013. He is the owner of Jamal Farms in Ecuador and Jamal Wholesale Floral Company of San Antonio. He was a recent candidate for Bexar County tax assessor. So please welcome our panel here tonight. All right, gentlemen, I'd like to start by giving our audience a sense of how each of you assess the current dynamic of local jurisdictions and immigrants who may be here illegally. This is the most basic policy question there is. Do you see a problem that needs to be addressed? And if so, exactly what is that problem? And just briefly for now, we'll be getting to lots of different topics here. Representative Bernal, if you could start us off on that one.
Do I see a problem that needs to be fixed?
Yes.
Not really. Not in our city. In my experience in our city, all residents, whether they are undocumented or not, get along really well. They respect each other. They're part of the same fabric that makes our community. That doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be enforcement along the border, that we shouldn't make efforts to ensure that certain contraband doesn't make its way into the country, and likewise that certain contraband doesn't make its way out of the country. But overall, as we assess the landscape of our city, and I think of the things that we need to fix, when I think of the issues that are plaguing our community, when I make my list of things I'd like to correct that would make my city a better, more livable, friendlier place, the presence of people who are undocumented is not on the top 20. In fact, it doesn't exist there at all.
Thank you. Chief?
Sure. My job is to enforce the laws. I don't see a problem with what we do right now and as we do it right now. Our primary mission in enforcing the law is to answer calls for service, your calls for service, and work with the community to help prevent and enforce, or help prevent and solve crime. That's my job as a police chief. That's our job as SAPD. I don't see a problem with what we're doing right now. I think we do it pretty well.
Thank you. Jeff?
Well, the question will hopefully be answered tonight, and I guess it revolves around whether or not San Antonio is indeed a sanctuary city. There are people in Austin who think it is. There are people, public officials, who deny that it is in San Antonio, and if it is, then that is indeed a problem. But it's important to understand that the issues of sanctuary cities are not about apprehending people who are here illegally. That's the entire big immigration debate. What we're talking about here tonight is getting known criminals off of the street and keeping them off the street and cooperating with the immigration and customs enforcement to make sure that our streets and our neighborhoods stay safe, that preserves that fabric that Diego talked about. We need our safety, and the sanctuary city policy undermines our safety.
Thank you. Robert?
Do we have a problem? We don't need to. Let me just start off saying thank you to Express News and KLRN for having this. It's a very important topic that I think that has been we've been skirting for the last couple of years here in San Antonio and Bexar County. But do we have a problem? We don't need to have a problem, but the potential is there. I think that we've seen across the state of Texas with the Travis County Sheriff and the Dallas County Sheriff that they're looking at de facto sanctuary city type processes as far as not releasing the illegal aliens to ICE to be deported. And so what we want to find out tonight is the direction with the state of Texas, with San Antonio, with Bexar County, with our own police and our own police chief as far as which way he's going with this thing. Because if we don't act like a sanctuary city, or we don't say we're a sanctuary city, but we're acting like a sanctuary city, I think we have a problem.
Okay, thank you. As a professor, I always like to go to the U.S. Constitution to start a conversation. I think it's a good place to start. So, Chief, I'd like to start with you on this one. In matters involving this kind of thing, about arguments about what level of government have what powers, of course, the Constitution sets the stage for all this. So in your view, how does the U.S. Constitution just give us the background to frame this debate, maybe for some people in our audience who need a little bit of a brush up on the Constitution?
You know, I don't know that there's any clear authority that the Constitution or any laws in existence right now give local police authority to enforce federal regulations. I don't think we should be enforcing federal regulations. We've got enough to do as it is right now, and handling calls for service and the myriad of other things that we do in the community. So I don't think that local law enforcement should play any role in immigration enforcement. And I don't know if I answered your question or not, but.
You did, thank you.
Okay.
Robert?
Well, look, this is a federal issue. Once someone penetrates our borders, whether it's to the north or to the south or east or west,